Hello good people, and welcome to another episode of Going Viral with myself, Sean Stevens.
So, this is day 2 of the lockdown. Day 2. I gotta tell you, so far it's feeling like it's been a week. So I'm sitting outside in my car. I have a black Jeep and I am sitting in it at the moment. It is midday, so this car is absolutely baking hot. I mean, it is boiling in here. I've only been in here a short while already and I'm already starting to sweat like mad. My hands are soaked and my head is getting there quickly as well. There's a good reason that I'm sitting out here in this flippin' heat trap, but we'll get to that a little bit later. So, my lockdown so far, I think I've nearly worn the hinges off of my fridge. I've been in there about 1,000 times. The picture of the inside of my fridge is practically burned into my corneas already. I've stared at the thing so much. Every time I open the fridge, I kind of expect that there's going to be a whole bunch of different stuff in there that wasn't in there the last time I opened it. But sadly, it never is. It's always the same picture. The same picture, minus a few beers almost every time. I'm nearly out of beers already, by the way. That's one of the things with this lockdown in South Africa at the moment. We are allowed to do some basic necessity shopping. We can go down to the supermarkets and get bread and milk, that kind of thing. But alcohol in South Africa, the purchase of alcohol, and even just traveling with alcohol, having alcohol in your car, moving it from place to place, like say for instance a friend of mine's house to my house, is absolutely illegal in South Africa. I mean, this is American prohibition style alcohol free lockdown countrywide. Any alcohol you have at home, you can consume at home, but once that is done, once that is finished, once that is klar, dololo, no more alcohol for anybody. I think that the rationale for it is kind of sound though. I mean, why would people want to sit around being drunk all day? And when people are drunk, they feel the need to socialize more. I think especially in places like the shanty towns and things like that in South Africa, if people were drinking, the opportunity, the want for them to get together and sit around in larger groups would be there, and possibly the threat of violence would also be there. I think we all know what groups of drunk people are like. They can be weird. But there is another thing which I can't even fathom actually. South Africa has placed a ban on purchasing any cigarettes. So you can go to the shops, you can buy essentials, bread and milk, etc. The shops have stock of cigarettes, but you are not allowed to purchase them. I thought this was fake news at first, but a minister on TV yesterday did confirm this. You cannot buy cigarettes in South Africa at the moment. If you want to cause stress and anguish for people, smokers in particular in South Africa, tell them that they can't buy cigarettes. I mean, crikey. If I was still a smoker, I would be pissed to high heaven with this calling, this ruling. There's only 1 or 2 reasons that I can think of why this may have become an issue. I think what the ministers are saying at the moment is that people will use the excuse of going to buy cigarettes as their reason for going out to the shops. I have to call bullshit on that one. I really think that is absolute bollocks. Possibly smokers are being hit harder and they're having to go onto ventilators quicker, more, longer, etc. But there's no official stance on this. I mean, if that is the case, then I think people would be a bit more understanding. But I do also know that if you are trying to recover from something, even if it's a normal standard operation, for instance an intrusive operation where they have to cut you open, it takes your body longer to heal from that operation, from that wound, etc. if you are a smoker. And these are the only 2 things that I can think of that may have been a motivation for this thing. I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense otherwise. And in South Africa we have the real imminent problem of looting. Looting in South Africa is something that comes up fairly regularly when we have any sort of dramatic and drastic upheaval. Banning alcohol may be one of the drivers for the first rounds of looting. I mean, I just, when I think about looting, usually I'm totally averse to it. But I gotta tell you, if I think about a case of beers right now, especially being in this hot car, I'm thinking, sure, if somebody's gonna be looting, let me know when and where, and I'll come get a case of cold beer myself. I mean, just sitting in this flippin' boiling sauna of a car at the moment, a cold beer sounds like a fantastic idea. Drinking equals looting in some cases, I think. Also, if you are a cigarette smoker and suddenly they tell you that you cannot have cigarettes, if that's not reason to go out looting, then I don't know what is. We know how cranky cigarette smokers get. As it is, even when their box is coming to an end and they have no recourse to get some more, those guys start going nuts before the cigarettes are even finished. People are going to be cranky as hell. Because we're quarantined in such close quarters, if there's any kind of domestic violence, there's a hotline number you can call, and allegedly the cops will come out and they will deal with the dumbass. Domestic violence numbers are probably way low without alcohol in the equation. Take alcohol out and boom. I think it's almost a different world for wives and sufferers of domestic violence. But add in the fact that you can't smoke cigarettes now, and those already cranky, already weird guys that partake in this domestic fisticuffs, I mean, they're gonna be irrational and erratic. I don't get the cigarette bit. I just don't get it, and I think that should be lifted. I mean, we're already having a lot of our constitutional rights trampled, and as some would say, with very good reason. And I agree with the lockdown. I'm not disputing, I'm not arguing against it. I think it is the only way to sort of combat this thing. But give them the cigarettes back. I smoked for 17 years in the past, and I gave it up more than 10 years ago. For me, smoking is the most disgusting habit. I don't understand it. I don't know how I got caught up in it. I don't know why I started smoking. I was like a right kind of proper idiot at the time. But I've given it up since. So for me, that's not even an issue. But I do know that had I still been a smoker and they had said this thing to me, I would have been bleak, upset, angry. And there's a lot of angry people in this country as it is. There are a lot of people who feel that the government is letting them down again. There's a lot of people who are in very, very close quarters. They don't have access to the same stuff that a lot of the middle class people in South Africa have access to. Which brings me to the reason why I'm sitting in this car at the moment. A lot of people in South Africa don't understand why there are so many people in the townships that are out on the streets. They're out in the streets, they're shopping, etc. Okay, first of all, they did not have the opportunity to do their shopping, do their bulk shopping, etc. in time. They were only paid on the 25th of the month. The lockdown came into effect on the 26th of the month, and most of those people still had to work the whole of the day of the 26th. So, come the 27th, when the lockdown is now in effect, those people do not have the supplies at home. So they have to go out to the shops, which they've been told that they can do. But now they are going out en masse. They've already seen that there's been bulk buying in South Africa. Bulk buying to just next level kind of stuff. I mean, we were out of so many items here, but those people were not able to access them. They hadn't got paid yet. So now that they have been paid, they saw what happened in the shops before, so they're out trying to do exactly the same thing that the rest of the population had already done. So if you're at home and you have your your larder full, your pantry is overflowing, and all that kind of stuff. I don't think we should be so quick to judge the same people who are out at the shops now trying to get the thing done when they didn't have the opportunity like we did to go and do that shopping beforehand. That's my opinion on the matter. I do understand that this virus is spreading around more as a result of the shopping. Absolutely. But when we were shopping, the virus had as much opportunity to transmit, which doesn't make it any better. But a person who doesn't have anything to eat is not scared of an unseen virus which may or may not kill them. It hasn't affected many people in the townships as of yet, so they don't have any evidence besides the numbers on the news as to what sort of effects this kind of thing is going to have. The other reason why I think that we should not judge these people too harshly is because many of them live in shacks, tiny little tin shacks. At the moment, I am in a tiny little tin car and I am absolutely baking. If somebody came to me now and said, you have to stay in that car for 21 days, I would tell them to fuck off. There's no way in hell that anybody, for any reason at all, is keeping me in this car for 21 days. I was in school during the apartheid regime in South Africa, and black people were not allowed in the schools. I then moved to Botswana and I joined a school there. I was the only white person in the entire school. So you can imagine coming from this place where we don't know black people. I mean, during the apartheid days, we didn't have much interaction with black people. Maybe if you were a farmer, if you lived on a farm, you would have had quite a lot of black people around you. Normal people in South Africa, normal white people in South Africa, should I say, only came into contact with black people through, their domestic workers, their gardeners who came in on a sort of daily or weekly basis to clean and shave their grass and things like that. So for me to go into the situation where I was like the only white guy in the entire school, it was just... Anyway, I digress. So while I was in Botswana, living with my sister there, we went jawling one night. Jawling is a party. We went for a big party, drinking nicely, having a whale of a time one night. Got home like 3 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And I passed out on a mattress on the floor. Now this mattress on the floor was inside of a tin shack. A very small, rudimentary tin shack, much like those that a lot of the population in South Africa are living in right now. Because I was liquored up, I passed out and I didn't wake up till about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Now Botswana, the temperatures in Botswana can get manic. This particular day, the temperature was over 40 degrees. This blazing sun baking this little tin shack that I was sleeping in on the floor, on this mattress. I woke up about 1 o'clock in the afternoon and this entire mattress from corner to corner was absolutely drenched, soaked right through with my sweat. I woke up with a massive splitting headache because of the dehydration. I had to crawl outside and go sit under a tree for a while just to try and survive the thing. And I slept in there a little bit longer, I'd be cooked like a chicken, just absolutely cooked. So now at this moment, everyone is being told by the army and the police that they have to get back into their shacks, get off the streets, get into your shacks. It's summertime in South Africa at the moment. I don't know what the temperature outside is. I don't think it's a particularly hot day in summer. In fact, I think it's quite a moderate day in summer. But inside this car, it is absolutely cooking hot. It's scorching. And I know right now, I tell you right now, that inside those shacks, it is boiling hot. Add to that the problem that there are sometimes 6 people in a shack, 10 people in a shack, a tiny one-room apartment. You want those people to stay inside? I don't think so. I don't think so. And there's nobody out there that can tell me that they would be totally happy to just chill inside under those conditions. And if you think that you would, You have not experienced those conditions and you have no idea what you're talking about. There's no ways. It's easy to say from the creature comforts of your couch with your Netflix going, some of you with your air conditioners on, running water, a toilet next to your bedroom, some of you. These people have communal toilets. They have to walk from their shack to the toilets to go and open a door which has been opened by the rest of the community that day. They have to sit on a toilet seat. Some of them don't have toilet seats. They have to sit on something. They have to touch things which the entire rest of that community has been touching. I mean, coronavirus. For what? For who? How are you going to convince people that they mustn't go stand in a queue to get food for their families when they have to use a communal toilet back at home? A communal toilet which thousands of people use. If you're going to spread coronavirus, it's going to be there. And I'm sure the shops will have their own part to play. But if it's a choice between feeding yourself and your family and not, let me tell you, every one of you is going to the shop. The other consequence of this virus, though, may be that a lot of people who are at the moment middle class may be unemployed after this thing, especially if this thing goes quite long. And I'm anticipating that it's going to go about 3 months. I'm really hoping I'm wrong. But if this thing actually goes 3 months, the effects to our economy, which was already a struggling economy, is going to be absolutely astronomical. We as a country just got downgraded by Moody's yesterday. So 3 rating agencies have now brought South African stock down to junk status. So that was already going to do quite a big job on our economy. Our economy was already absolutely limping along. Now with this downgrade on top of this virus and pandemic and flipping quarantining and all that kind of stuff, I suspect that a lot of middle class people are now going to be downgraded to unemployed to start with, and very shortly after that to lower class. I'm coughing now. That is not because of coronavirus. My body, for some reason, every time it gets hot, starts to cough. I don't know what this is. I've googled it. I cannot find a reason for it, but I'm very, very susceptible to it. Even when I'm tattooing, if I have a light source too close to me, the heat radiating off that light source will overheat my body and I will start to cough and bark and splutter, and I have to get outside, take my top off and let my body cool down before I come right again. Lucky there's no other people in this car with me, because they would be jumping out the windows right now. I promise it's not coronavirus. It's a different kind of cough entirely. But anyway, as a consequence of this this potential downgrading of the middle classes, we have recently had the suggestion of NHI, or National Health Insurance, come into South Africa. The idea has been bandied around and a lot of people were up in arms about it. We've had a lot of corruption in the last 10 years in South Africa, which has really cost our fiscus trillions, just untold numbers with untold amounts of zeros behind it. Our economy has been raped and plundered by members of the ruling party in South Africa. We now have a new leadership who I personally have quite a bit of faith in, but because it's the same group of people, it's the same party that was privy to all of this looting in the past, people were absolutely adamant they did not want this NHI to come into effect. Personally, I think that a national health insurance would lift the level of health insurance in South Africa for the majority of the people in South Africa. And we have to remember that number. I mean, that's the majority of the people in the country. If their lot is improving, everyone's lot is improving. The number of people who can afford the greatly overpriced private medical insurance in South Africa, that number is like a fraction of the total population of South Africa. So the quality of medical care in South Africa the disparity is just miles apart. Like, it's worlds apart. And I suspect that as soon as a lot of the middle income people, which had been shouting so vehemently against the NHI and the idea of good basic health insurance, I suspect that those people, as soon as they are on the bones of their arse and they face the prospects of going to the hospitals in the state that they are in at the moment, I suspect a lot of those people are going to change their minds about the NHI. In South Africa, we have an extra added problem on top of all the other chaos that we're facing at the moment. A lot of people were like, it's going to be a little bit of a holiday. We can, sit at home and have watch parties on our internet and, watch Netflix, streaming sites, etc., etc. But while human beings are making plans, God is laughing. One of the major undersea cables that transports our internet to us here in South Africa has been damaged somehow, and that has led to very, very slow internet in most parts of South Africa. So Netflix keeps crashing, and these things are going to get to people soon. It's just one big sort of cluster. So for me, this whole lockdown thing didn't seem like too daunting a prospect. I am a sailor, and I have done quite a few trips across large oceans. These trips usually take like weeks at a time, and you are absolutely quarantined onto a boat. Some of those boats have been small, some a little larger, but none of them, as big as sort of an average 3-bedroom house. When you're in the middle of the ocean, there's nowhere you can go at all. You're stuck absolutely and permanently on that boat. That is where you are. When you leave port and you've got 2 weeks to the next destination, that place is your home. You eat, sleep, fart, whatever you do on that boat, and you don't step 1 foot off of it. Unlike at the moment where I still have access to the shops, and even now I've stepped outside to my car. I thought then, because of my sailing experience, that I would get away a little bit lightly. I still have access to more of the creature comforts at home than I do on the boats. For instance, I have electricity and an unlimited supply of running water. I can shower. I can shower on the boats as well. I'm not a stinky dude on the boats. I can shower there as well. Some of the boats don't have it, so we jump into the middle of the ocean, 4 kilometers of water underneath us, and we have a quick swim around, hoping the sharks don't come up and bite our balls and stuff. But at the moment, I still have some of the creature comforts that I wouldn't usually have on those boats. But these 2 days, this is only day 2 of this lockdown, these 2 days have felt like a week already. At least on the boats, I'm waking up every 4 hours or every 6 hours, depending on the shift rotation, and I'm getting up to work. I am in charge of the boat. I set the sails, I trim the sails, I change course, I avoid other shipping if there need be, I avoid other land masses if there are land masses around. I'm constantly thinking, I'm constantly observing instruments and things like that to make sure that we are on the right course, that the wind is doing the right thing. If the wind changes direction, I need to alter my sail plan, and so I'm constantly busy and constantly thinking about things. So those hours go by, quite quickly. At the moment, I'm doing very little of that. And for these first 2 days, and despite what I said in the first video about all these things that I was going to do while I was in lockdown, the first 2 days I've done almost none of that. I've taken the first 2 days as the weekend. It is the weekend. It is now Sunday. So I'm taking the 2 days to sort of just veg out and process this whole thing. This is still so mind-boggling to me. I just still cannot comprehend that this is worldwide. It's absolutely crackers to me. It's mind-bending. It's mind-bending. And then of course I have my business to worry about and the future to worry about, and I don't know how I'm going to pay my rental. My rental is due in 2 days time. I have no idea how I'm going to pay that. If I pay that and we are locked down for 3 months, I'll get to the point where I don't have any money for food at all for me or my entire family. Can I take that risk? Do I take that risk? Look, again, I know that there are so many people dealing with these same issues, these same discussions, having these discussions with themselves, with their friends. The stress levels are soaring. It's absolutely manic, and I'm not barely aching because I know everyone is in the same boat as me. But it is one of the major things that is worming its way around the inside of my head at the moment. So I'm just taking 2 days just to sort of comprehend this mess and let it sink in. We have to face many weeks ahead still of this entire same situation, possibly with it getting worse and worse in South Africa. We don't know what's going to happen. We have a lot of social issues in South Africa. Some of those may turn into worse issues. I don't want to be an alarmist. For me, I think that once it all settles into everyone in South Africa, they will pull together and they will try and do their part to the best of their abilities, to the best of their resources, etc. It's going to be much harder for so many other South Africans. So many other South Africans are going to have just a lot tougher a time of this thing than I am. So that understanding needs to be there when we think about how badly we have it. Anyhow, I think it's time for me to get back inside before I turn into a raisin. There's now actually liquid running down my face, the entire back of me. I have leather seats in this car and my entire back is absolutely drenched, soaked to the max. I'm sticking to this thing like grim. Thankfully and luckily for me, I want to be able to go inside now, jump into a shower, turn a tap, fresh water is going to fall out of it and cleanse the sweat off of my body. Spare a thought for all those other people who do not have access to that. Running water, the most vital, the most basic, the most simple of things that we take so easily for granted in this country and every other country. There are so many people in South Africa that still don't have access to just that one simple thing. And as you can probably tell, my brain is melting. My brain is frying down. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I've been in this car now for probably about 45 minutes and I cannot think properly. I can't even do words. If you've enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, share the video. If you have anything to add it in the comments, but please be respectful. Let's not get into too much politics and stuff. There will be a time for politics, but it's not right now. Right now we need a bit of solidarity, we need a bit of positivity, and let's try and keep this thing going in that vein if at all possible. Please, I ask you with tears in my pretty green eyes. Oh, that cool, fresh air over my hat.